Hey everybody, it's Mike Sullivan with Building Better Communities. Today we have a really cool guest, and his name is Chad Kim, and he's in one of the most beautiful parts of the country. He's in Los Angeles County, and it's a city called Torrance, and which I'm really familiar with. So, Chad, thank you, man, for carving out some time with us today to share your passion about the traffic world. So, thank you for carving out time with us.
Yeah, hi Mike. Great to be here.
Absolutely. And so we were just kind of chatting it up a little bit before the podcast, and it's cool because you're in a really fun part of your life, right? You have an adventure ahead of you. You're finishing up school now. You're doing an internship with the city of Santa Ana, California. And what's that like? Maybe what's kind of your favorite part, least favorite part, and where do you kind of want to go from there?
Yeah, so I guess if we kind of backtrack a little bit,
Yeah,
I've I was in a different career. So I kind of would say that I kind of took an unconventional career path. Compared to like maybe one who already knew from the get-go when they went through their initial undergrad studies that they wanted to do civil engineering and whatnot. I'm actually coming from a different background. I My initial career was in urban planning, particularly in public transit. And from there, I was able to successfully achieve near a decade's worth of experience in public transit. And in essence, kind of getting towards like how I'm here today, uh, I a near decade later, towards the latter part of it, I got really interested in traffic engineering because in my day-to-day, I was reviewing traffic control plans. And in particular, I really harked back to my childhood days and maybe it's kind of like a match because I was particularly interested in traffic signals when I was a kid. When my mom would be driving, I would look at the traffic signals and kind of wonder, man, how does this thing work? But of course, me being a kid at the time, I didn't have all the means and resources to fully appreciate what really goes into all the little nuances and the nook and crannies that, go into creating a traffic signal system. So, that hark back to my childhood days, along with what I was currently doing, I felt that it was time for a change. And it kind of happened during the pandemic too. I
mm,
understand that, during that time, a lot of, you know, um, people went through a similar situation as I did in terms of kind of
absolutely.
self-reflecting the path that one wants to take as we went through that pandemic. And um, I guess I'm one of them where I decided, it's the right time. It's the right time to make the switch over to this career. And with that, I felt that it's very important to have a strong foundation, kind of pun intended, in civil engineering. And so I decided to go back to school 4 years ago. And at that time, I was working full time, and I this just thought about how would be possible to kind of accommodate everything all together. And basically, I did a quick Google search, and I guess this is kind of a shout out to my school right now, University of North Dakota. They offer so many different online programs, and civil engineering happened to be one of them, and it's fully ABET accredited. And through my experience with that school, it's been very rewarding. The professors are always available, and I was able to learn so much that I didn't even know about civil engineering. I was so kind of had tunnel vision in terms of traffic engineering that I didn't realize that civil engineering just has so many different subfields within it, such as
Mm.
structures and water resources and environmental. Um, so I felt that it was right to go back to school and get that foundation that's really necessary to fully understand how traffic engineering fits into civil engineering and civil engineering as a whole, to understand what it's all about. And so I'm very proud that I'm entering my last semester. I'll be graduating towards the end of this year in December, and I only have two classes left.
Mm.
And so, like, you really caught me at a great time because I'm about to end my first chapter, which I can't believe it. it feels like it just happened yesterday, but time has passed by for sure. And I'm going to be heading into my second chapter, which is to find a full-time job.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool, and I love how you shared, when you were a little kid in your childhood, when you were on the road with your mom and like driving around and going, how do those things work? That's so cool. I've heard that from other traffic engineers that that's kind of where the spark happened. When they're on family road trips and they were little kids and the curiosity and the imagination started to get piqued. So that's cool and it's great. Thank you for mentoring too. That you're actually helping someone else out now as well as you're finishing up. So that's really cool. And what I guess um, where what kind of I guess maybe the question would be what encouragement would you have for someone like either a younger version of you, Chad, like maybe when you were in middle school or high school and you're going, I think I want to do something with engineering, but I don't know what would you say to him or her for encouragement? Or what's really cool is you had a 10-year successful career and now you're pivoting and going into your second chapter, which is really cool too. I guess if there's someone out there that's maybe thinking of doing that, what kind of encouragement would you have for him or her? If they're kind of thinking, yeah, I want to pivot, but how do you do it? I don't know. Can I put 4 years into it? What encouragement would you give to him or her?
Yeah, so harking back to the first question, in terms of just imagining, if let's say hypothetically, if I was already interested in, um, I mean, it's endless, it's limitless today. I mean, I feel like I'm kind of showing my age here, in terms of kind of mentioning about how back then there was no YouTube, there was no internet. Everything
Mm-hmm.
was done through the books and through encyclopedias. And so today it's just so limitless in terms of the knowledge that we can ascertain. So I would definitely, if I were able to talk to my younger self, I would say, hey, I know you're interested in let's say traffic engineering, and hey, there's great YouTube channels out there where there's YouTubers who are talking about traffic engineering as kind of like they're even their full time as a YouTuber.
Mm-hmm.
Um, get that kind of understanding of their experience, their story, but also it's just in terms of, let's say, like, remember how I mentioned about how when I was a kid, I was really interested in traffic signals, how I wanted to understand how it works. It was pretty tough at that time because to really do that, I have to literally go out of my way and probably have to reach out to a traffic engineer and be like asking questions like, hey, how does this work? But now that we have the internet, and excuse me, and so I would definitely recommend to my younger self to start from there. And not only that, but let's say in terms of speaking to someone who has gone through a similar path in terms of attempting to make a career switch, um, I would definitely say it's not easy. It's really not easy because um, for those who have already established a career, they've become professionals at that. And then to one day just really just drop that and switch over, pivot over to something entirely new. It's not easy to begin with. And to even go back to school is pretty tough. I mean, fortunately, I have a really good support system in terms of my wife being supportive all the way. Um, kind of being like a cheerleader, but also just being there, to support the ability to have the ability for me to go back to school. And so I think it's just all these advices that I can give. I mean, we can go on and on, but for sure, it's definitely having that great support network, that support system, and just using the resources that we have, all the resources that we can use. And one of the things that my boss said, you know, a while back ago, a previous boss, supervisor, um, he said, always ask questions, as questions are for free or are free. I mean, generally. So those are the advice that I would definitely give. And most importantly, uh, for whether it's someone who's starting at a younger age to get into this career, or someone who's already had an established career in another field but switching over to um, something else, experience matters. It's one thing to have a diploma to recognize the outstanding achievement of the of academia, but all in all, as I realized towards the latter portion of my career and my previous career, experiences where it counts. And that still counts in terms of, let's say, where I'm at now. There's things that I can learn from reading books or going to class, but there's so many things that one can only learn through experience, like going out into the field and understanding how things work there, understanding office etiquettes. There's all these things that are added on top of what we need to understand, not just academics, but also the experience that's just so important. So for sure, for um, aspiring traffic engineers who are going to go through school, I highly encourage them to obtain an internship as soon as possible, because those years of internship experience will go a long way to really put your foot in the door to get a full-time job later on. And I can't stress it enough.
I love that, and I appreciate you. It's interesting when you were sharing that you were actually answering a couple of the questions that I was going to throw out. So thank you for sharing all that. And would you be open to come back on the podcast maybe in a year when when you get your new position at the new city, just to share how that's going with us? We would love that.
Anytime, anytime.
That'd be awesome. And thanks so much for sharing your heart, for what you do and where you're going, and just for sharing your story with us. Thank you, Chad.
Thank you, Mike.
Wherever people go, one signal at a time, one project, one design, making tomorrow brighter than today. They're building better communities, keeping families safe on every street, helping traffic move, helping dreams come true, making life a little